it has been. Spend the weekend with people you love. I'll see you on Monday night.
All right, I'm Chris Cuomo. Thank you for the company. I say we get after it, meaning the elephant in the room when discussing the plus minus of Kamala Harris. Of course, race is going to be an issue, but I submit to you, sex may be the definitive issue. Meaning, if women decide to make this the election where they make their witness, they likely decide the race. There are more women than men, more women voters than men. Women vote at higher percentages in the country, but also in all the swing states that count. That's why we see 6 of the 12 female governors coming from those states, because women considerably outperform men there. Married women don't just follow their husbands as much as they used to. And if there's a candidate to split the vote for a couple, it would be Trump. Besides, there are more single women than married ones. Single women are more likely to vote than married. Specifically, they vote more on women's issues. There's also another generation eligible to vote this time around. And this will be not just their first election, but the first presidential cycle since women became the first class in the modern era to arguably have a right taken away by men, specifically one man, Trump, who also happens to check every box of what women may want to reject. Got rid of Roe, says everyone likes the move, not true, says the majority of every group except, evangelicals are against the removal of the right, by the way. He says people wanted the states to decide. Not true, and he knows it. A jury found him liable for sexual assault. He has disparaged women openly, repeatedly, and does so unapologetically. Now, the last adverb matters. Women in general are more emotionally sophisticated, all right? Still, and a man like Trump, and now Vance with his cat lady double down, how can someone so smart say something so stupid? You know what the answer is? Because he doesn't think women will make him pay for it. That's why. Is he wrong? We'll see. So when you not only say stupid shite, offensive sexist shite, but you refuse to own and or apologize, you're asking for it. So is that a moment that we're in? The question for Harris is, can she make this that moment? Can she message what she is for in a way that gets women, especially white women, more especially white non-college educated women, to believe in her? Why do I say it that way? Women decided the 2016 race, and were also strong for Trump in 2020. White women specifically. White women, Trump beat Clinton 52-43. And he beat Biden about the same. They're going to have slightly different numbers than I do, but it depends what exit poll you want to look at. Non-college educated women specifically gave Trump 65% of their vote against Clinton. Why? Because they voted on economics and the swamp. Hillary Clinton said they did what their husbands told them. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird, but I think that's a little sexist of her to say that. Maybe it's more classist. But forget about that. What about now? Okay, inflation and immigration are dominant issues. But lower income voters who tend to favor Trump are also disproportionately affected by access to health care now in many places that matter, especially in this election. Things have gotten harder, if not scarier, when it comes to women's access to health care because of Trump. That could be Harris's argument. And this is actually an issue that Harris is well versed on and knows how to attack on it. So why am I framing it this way this early? Well, there's a reason. We saw Democratic big shots and delegates come behind Harris quickly. We also saw black male leaders, which is a little more iffy with Harris, male versus female, stepping up quickly. Now, for me, I actually say too quickly. I say more process, more better, and I would have liked to have seen the VP outperform others, even if it's just in town halls and TV debates, and make the convention an antidote to the Trump coronation. But seems the Democrats think their party members will get over a rushed process and that Trump arguing Harris's selection is rigged is too hypocritical coming from him to matter to anyone. So back to the woman factor. Why now? Well, first, we see women being relevant in the early poll pop for Harris. But now let me erase my own point. I don't give a damn about polls between now and mid-September. They're just fodder for clicks, right? They're just false urgency. I won't bother with them for the most part, okay? This is a sprint for Harris to develop what she's for, travel, sell it to women specifically where it counts. Now, here's why I'm bringing it up this early. Something just happened I've never heard of before. There was a Zoom call that had over 200,000 white women on it. Think about that, right? We're all like Zoom crazy, right? I'm Zooming all of. I haven't seen my therapist in like years because of telehealth. Anyway, 200,000 white women for Harris. I've never heard of anything like that. We certainly didn't see that with Clinton. And I say white women because that's what they called it. White women for Harris. Connie Britton, the actor whom I love, called it Karens for Kamala. I hope that was alliterative and not literal, but could this be the start of something big? All right? The white women answer the call. Celebrities, athletes, elected officials, and a lot of others, 200,000 people. Okay? They supposedly raised $8.5 million. Take a look.
I am here tonight embracing myself in your incredible, profound white women midst because we've got a job to do, y'all.
White women, this is our opportunity to show up not only for ourselves, but for Black women. They've given us the whole playbook on how to show up and energize and be organized.
I'm just really grateful that us women are going to have a voice, and we've always made our voices heard. And now it's time to just get extra loud.
Interesting. White women. I mean, here we are. I have to admit, when I was writing stuff down, I was like, Karens for Kamala? I don't know.
It's funny. Now, listen, you can say, oh, Hollywood, please. They always go left. This is an affinity issue with women. It's not like I don't care who George Clooney. I mean, it's different. I'm in the media. But like men don't care what Hollywood men say. It's not like they are our beacons. But this is about women identifying with women. You know, men don't do that the same way. Why? Because we're not prejudiced against, right? We haven't been fighting for equality. Now, earlier this week, we also saw the same kind of call with Black women, right? Win with Black women, Zoom for Harris. I'm telling you, if these moments get momentum and become a movement, this could be what this election is about. Let's bring in someone who was on the white women for Kamala call, Democratic Michigan State Senator Mallory McMorrow, and conservative political commentator Liz Wheeler. It's good to have you both. Thank you for joining us. Nice to have you both. Mallory, did I get it right? And what was the vibe, and why this time, why haven't we seen this before?
You did get the vibe right. It was incredible. First of all, Zoom has never had a meeting larger than 100,000 people. This happened completely organically. Shannon Watts, who's the founder of Moms Demand Action, tweeted in response to the Win with Black Women call that you mentioned that white women should do this. It's on us now. And that took off. And then all of a sudden she had this, oh no, I actually have to figure out how to do this moment. So rallied together with the likes of Glennon Doyle and Indivisible, reached out to Zoom. Zoom had to bring in extra engineers to figure out how to build their platform to handle more people. It crashed multiple times. The donation link went down, and I had to remind many of the white women on the call, if this is the worst thing that happens to us, we're going to be okay. Wait 5 minutes, hit refresh. It was so exciting. And I think to your point, from 2016 to now, white women have seen the impacts of a Donald Trump presidency in a way that we didn't in 2016. There's a level of responsibility knowing that elections are decided by white women. And this energy, I got to tell you, feels like nothing I've ever felt before.
Well, a couple things. One, they went for him in 2020 also. And when it crashed, You should have said it was rigged, started a conspiracy, blamed the media. I mean, what are you doing, Mallory? Come on, get up on it. All right, Liz, let's remind people why Trump got white women, specifically all of them, but non-college educated, especially against Clinton and Biden. Why? Why would women vote for Trump?
Sure. I think one of the things you said in your monologue was particularly insightful, and that is that Kamala moving forward needs to make the case for why people should vote for her. She hasn't really done that yet. She's only been the presumptive nominee for a couple of days. But I completely disagree with Mallory and with these 200,000 people that were on this Zoom call. First of all, I'm not sure it's a really good look for the Democratic Party to host a whites-only space event. I don't know that we want to take our country back to something like that, even if it is coming from the Democratic Party. But really, Kamala is extremely dangerous as a candidate. She's very extreme. She's bad for women. She's bad for our country. And you look no further than the border invasion. I mean, that she was specifically tasked by President Biden to be the border czar. Under her helm, 8 million illegal aliens have come into our country, including people on the FBI's terror watch list, MS-13 cartel members, murderers, rapists, violent criminals. I mean, crime in our cities has increased under her watch. She actually encouraged people to donate to a defense fund, a Black Lives Matter defense fund that paid for the bail of a knife murderer, another man who was put in jail because of domestic violence. I mean, she's pretty bad news. She's pretty extreme. She's not in line even with Democrat voters. She's more radically left.
So one quick qualification, and then I give it back to you, Mallory. The qualification is she was not made the border czar. She was put in charge of studying the migration issues from home countries, where she was supposed to negotiate with those countries and come up with solutions. So not specifically our border czar with that responsibility, but we did never hear anything about it. There was no report. There was no follow-up action. So there's a little stink on her. Not as much as you suggest,
right,
but
so
none
the date
either.
was March 24th of 2021, the day that Biden put her in charge of it. Congress even had a resolution that acknowledged that she was the border czar. I know places like Axios now are pretending that she wasn't the border czar, even though they reported at the time that she was. She actually called her own efforts critical. Right. She called her own efforts critical.
They are critical
to the immigration policy. And I mean, look at the outcome. Do you think that our border is in good shape right now? Do you think that that's
no? It's terrible.
Do you think that this invasion is? Yeah, it's terrible. And most people, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, agree.
I don't even think it's wrong. I don't agree as a man. I agree as someone with eyes. It is. Right. It's so bad you can call it an invasion. But Mallory, notice what Liz is not talking about: reproductive rights. And this is the first cycle since Roe is gone. And people did not want it to go back to the states. People wanted a federal standard. Trump took it away. He is worried about it. We know that, which is why the platform doesn't mention it this year. The party platform doesn't mention gay marriage, doesn't mention reproductive rights. Do you believe it could be an issue that transcends economics in this election?
You know, I think that if I can go back to the previous issue and touch on both of them are issues. And I think when you talk to women, women are smart enough to understand that one single person cannot change a policy issue. There was a bipartisan border deal on the table that Donald Trump made some phone calls and had it killed. So of all of the work that...
But it was a Fugazi deal, Mallory. That was a Fugazi deal, and it came years into the administration.
It did. That's fair. But I do think that as people are looking forward into who's going to take on the role of the presidency, you're going to have to work with Congress to get anything done. Now, on the issue of abortion rights, you're exactly right. There is a very strategic reason that abortion and reproductive rights did not make it into the Republican Party platform, because they've seen that every time abortion has been on the ballot since the Dobbs decision, it has won. Here in Michigan, Proposal 3 in 2022, which effectively codified Roe in our state constitution, collected more signatures than any petition initiative in state history. And it was required by law to collect those signatures from every county. So this was rural areas. This was way up in the Upper Peninsula. This is West Michigan. This is Metro Detroit. This was the unifying issue. And I worked with organizers all around the state, deeply conservative. I was raised Catholic, who once Dobbs was gone, there were very real, very hard, honest conversations about how hard it is to get pregnant, to stay pregnant, and all of the many ways that a pregnancy can go wrong. And there was this universal agreement that we deserve these protections. I don't think you can underestimate how angry women still are about having a right taken away from us, about the government deciding, the Supreme Court deciding, no, you don't get the right to decide. We don't trust you to make your own decisions with your doctors. It's going to go back to the states. Well, the states, including Michigan, Kentucky, Ohio, are deciding, okay, we're going to play and we're going to take our rights back. And I think we're going to see that play out this November.
Liz, how important do you think reproductive rights as a discussion is in this election, and what can Trump do to blunt what you're hearing now?
Listen, there are 3 reasons why reproductive rights, as Mallory puts it, it's not actually a right to kill your unborn child. It's a heinous thing. But there are several reasons why these ballot races have been won when it comes to abortion. The first is the amount of money that's poured into state referendums. That makes a huge difference. It's basically a matter of who can raise the most money. And oftentimes that comes from donors, so it's not reflected by small dollar amounts. Those who raise the most money typically win. It also is incrementalism in these laws. When you go from 0 to 100, oftentimes any type of referendum fails. And then messaging. And messaging is where it's most important. It's where the Republican Party, including Donald Trump, has muffed it up. When we're talking about abortion, oftentimes the left uses these euphemisms like reproductive rights or access or healthcare. That's not what abortion is. And I would pose to both of you tonight to answer the question, what is abortion? What is an abortion procedure in the first trimester? It suffocates the unborn baby. What is an abortion procedure in the second? No, you cannot until I'm done.
Go ahead. When Liz is done, I'll give it back to you, Mallory.
All right, thank you.
In the second trimester, an abortion takes a vacuum and suctions the baby's limb from limb apart in their mother's womb. In the third trimester, the baby is given a lethal injection to the heart, and then its skull is crushed with forceps before it's removed from the mother's womb. This is a brutal, gruesome procedure, and there's a reason that 80% of the American people, 80%, think that abortion should be illegal in the third trimester. There's a reason that over 60% of people believe that it should be illegal in the second trimester. Kamala Harris is so radical on this. And listen, both of you, I know, Chris, that you're Catholic. I know, Mallory, you said you were raised Catholic. You know that life begins at conception. You know these are human beings with value and dignity.
Hold on.
They deserve better. They deserve their right to life.
Liz, I hear you. I get the argument. Just to be clear, my faith is not and should not be the law of the land in a secular society. Okay, what I was raised to believe, that's on me. That's for me and whoever I'm with. That's for me with my kids. That doesn't make it okay to put on everybody else. And I really think we want to be careful about that.
We have morals in our law, though. But let me just make this. We have morals in our law. Like the reason that I'm not allowed to murder you is because as human beings, we have more dignity and value than animals. Whereas that begot of our religious beliefs. So we have this sort of fundamental idea of right and wrong in our law.
Judeo-Christian ethics are relevant to the law, but this is something far more specific. And the reason I'm cautious about it is that someday, Liz, this may be a Muslim majority country. And then what? Are we going to be okay with them putting their rules on us because they're the majority? Not for me. I say let's stop it right now. But I appreciate your points and your arguments.
What does that have to do with protecting life in the womb, though?
Well, because what if they have different rules that you don't like, but they're specific to their religion?
But that's like a wild hypothetical that you're using to dodge the question right now. Well, let me ask you this from a purely scientific standpoint. When does a human life begin?
When does a person with rights attach in the pregnancy process?
When does a human life begin scientifically?
And in Roe.
Just scientifically, purely scientifically, when does a human life begin?
Listen. This is a silly conversation because two human beings can only make a human.
I think it's an incredibly relevant question.
But the question is, when is it a person with rights? You believe at conception. My religion teaches at conception.
No. I'm
Jews
not talking
believe
about
something
I'm talking
else.
Scientifically. Scientifically, when does a human life begin?
The question isn't about the potential life. It's about when is it a fetus that becomes a person under the law with rights attaching. It's a distinction with a difference in the law. We both know it. There's no reason to play games. But Mallory, you wanted to answer the question. Go ahead.
I do. Yeah. This has been something that has been litigated here in Michigan in really painful, honest terms. And I feel like those who are on the other side of the issue always go to the gruesome details of the procedure itself. A liver transplant is gruesome. Any surgery is gruesome. But the reality is that it is so hard to get pregnant and to stay pregnant safely. The idea that we as the government, and why these ballot initiatives have gone the way that they have gone, would pick an arbitrary date that we decide, that the government decides that you can no longer terminate a pregnancy, creates this reality. I had constituents, and I've shared their story on the floor, who got married a year into their marriage, got pregnant, were thrilled, wanted to have a baby. Everything was going really well until the 20-week appointment, when they got the diagnosis that the collagen simply wasn't developing. There were no bones. And their doctor said, there is a very, very narrow chance that this fetus would survive to birth. But if it does, might only live a couple of days, and a sneeze could break a rib. It would be nothing but pain and suffering. And there's a very high likelihood you would never be able to conceive again. This was a termination they never thought they had to make. And when I talked to Jordan, the husband, who, I think his story is really powerful because we never talk about men in this situation. He said, I never thought that we were in the position of having an abortion. I thought we had a medical emergency, and they deserve care. They don't deserve to be treated like criminals. And that's what's on the ballot, is compassion and recognizing that everybody's situation is different.
Listen, we'll be talking about this more. Mallory, I appreciate you being here. Liz, well argued and appreciated. Look forward to having you both back on the show. Thank you very much for being with me tonight. Have a good weekend. 4 minutes, 5 seconds. Coming back. So how do the pros look at this? Barack and Michelle Obama finally gave their endorsement to Kamala. Kind of weird, the Harris and the phone call in the parking lot. So how much of what we're seeing right now is hype versus indicative of what happens? I got 3 great minds, okay? I got Carville, I got Andrew Grayson with Six Pack Coverage, who's just totally plugged in to college campuses. And we have the professor who is 9 out of 10 on presidential elections. He'll say 10 out of 10 on the last ones. What does he think of Harris? Next. Where's former President Obama? Oh, is this about Michelle? Is Michelle going to run? No. 5 days into it, the Harris campaign got the call and tried to make it into a viral moment. Take a look.
Kamala.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi, you're both together.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh, my goodness. Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me. I'm looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this, too, aren't we?
Fun. I don't know what's fun about this. I think it's going to be a complete battle to the bottom. But, all right, so there you have it. They waited 5 days. Now they gave it to her. What will it mean? She's been very aggressive, reaching out to Gen Z voters. They're using memes featuring Harris dancing hysterically, laughing along with, the Brat album and all that. Is this working? Will it work? Democratic strategist James Carville, founder and CEO of Six Pack Coverage, Andrew Grayson, and the man who has it, I give it to him. 10 for 10, Professor Alan Lichtman, the developer of the 13 Keys. Jimmy Carville, it's good that they made the switch, so we don't have to agonize over it anymore. Do you like the switch, and what's the plus minus on the early phase?
Well, I mean, first of all, I happen to like the switch, but more importantly, Democrats around the country love the switch. I mean, I don't know how to say this, but parties seem to, not the elites, I don't know what the elite is, by the way, establishment, I have no idea what that is, but the rank and file of Democrats is quite fired up about this whole thing.
So that's good. Do you have a little bit of a cautionary tale that we don't know where we're going to be? There's fervor right now. Everybody's happy, but where are we in September?
Yeah, people are kind of giddy and everything. I'm saying, look, I mean, it's coming. They said, well, American elections are close. They're going to be tough. They're going to be hard fought. But what I kind of disagree with you a little bit on, I think politics is actually fun. All right. I mean, it's tough and you're trying to do things, but I've been in American politics for, 40 years or something, and I literally had fun every day I went to work. I don't think it's a grind. I think it's a great, fun way to earn a living. But that's just me. I'm kind of an old-fashioned kind of guy.
And I think guys begging me to beat their ass made me move my family into the woods because they were saying crazy things.
Be ready, and you got to. But I'm telling you, I ask people, let's don't be giddy here. Let's move our artillery into position.
Andrew Grayson, young voters, do you think that they're going to come out? Because that's always the question. And if so, what do you see in the early frequency?
Yeah, Chris. So the early frequency, the last several days, we wanted to take a poll that says, as of right now, if the election was tomorrow, would you vote for Trump or Kamala? We're seeing, despite what a lot of the media says, that Kamala has this younger vote. Trump was nearly 70% compared to 30% of the votes if this election took place tomorrow. I'm not surprised by this. I mean, it's been very short for Kamala kind of getting out there. I think this number will change. I think it's going to fluctuate, but I don't see any kind of crazy trend right now that believes that I think is going to drastically change this election, given what's happened in the last few days.
Right. Look, it depends on your sample, especially polling right now. Axios, the Times, the Wall Street Journal, they all have her plus double-digit big with these voters. But do they actually vote? That's the X factor. And that takes us to Professor Lichtman. One, I hear you haven't decided yet, which, of course, I'll give you trouble about. You got James scratching his head that you haven't decided yet. Where are you with looking at Harris, and how does she shape up with the 13 keys?
I'll tell you exactly where we stand, even though I'm not going to make a final prediction until the Democratic convention. Under my 13-key system, which probes the strength and performance of the White House party, how elections really work, if 6 or more of my keys fall against the White House party, they are predicted losers, otherwise a predicted winner. Right now with Harris, the Democrats are down 3 keys. My mandate key, because they lost House seats in 2022 in the U.S. House, incumbency, because it's an open seat, and incumbent charisma, because Harris is not an FDR. That means 3 more keys would have to fall to predict their defeat. It's possible, but a lot would have to go wrong for Harris to lose. So what are the 4 keys your viewers should be looking at? Third party. Will RFK Jr. stabilize at least 10% in the polls? It's the only time I have to use the polls. I have nothing else. I think that's unlikely. Social unrest. Will there be a huge outburst of social unrest at the Democratic convention like we saw in the riots of '68? I don't think so, but it's possible. And the 2 shakiest keys, foreign/military failure and foreign/military success. So a lot would have to go wrong for Harris and the Democrats to lose 3 of those 4 keys. But I'll tell you definitively, Chris, in a little less than a month.
I can't wait. Jimmy, I want your take on this before I let you go. And I want to say, I'm going to send you some tequila. I see some Espolon up over your shoulder there.
What I got back there,
we can do better. We can do better than Espolon.
I got to get Tom Lichtman to give me some hair, man. That guy's got a mop. I'll tell you that.
I mean, he's got, we'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. So what do you think of the keys?
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting, and he studies them, and that's fine. I think the J.D. Vance cat lady thing is really bad, and I think that's very sticky. I think it's undercovered, and I think Trump's trying to figure a way to get rid of him. I don't think he can, but I think he's very, very unhappy. And this was a really, really offensive and stupid remark, and I'm just shocked by the amount of just personal feedback I get by it, or what I call Walmart feedback. It's out there.
And he had a great chance. He had a great chance to get it. It was 3 years ago. So he had a great chance to clean it up, and he didn't. Andrew, I'm going to call you after the show tonight before you go out and rage the way you young people with no gray hair do, and talk to you about getting a weekly monitoring of what you're seeing in terms of what's resonating and what isn't. But I want to thank each and all of you on a Friday. Six Pack Coverage is a very cool social media outlet to check out. Professor Lichtman, thank you. And Jimmy Carville, I got something coming for you. Oh, look, a little thumb went up when you went there. Look how technically advanced Carville is. Who knew? Who knew? Have a great weekend, fellas. Thank you very much. All right, 101 days until the election. 4 minutes and 30 seconds through the break. 101 days. That's a long time. All right. NewsNation did this very cool special last night, The Plot to Kill Trump. I wasn't sure about it. Did very well in the ratings. Very, very high interest. The big takeaway, too many competing stories. State police, Secret Service, local police. Why? Now Trump says he's headed back to the scene of the crime to hold another rally. Why? So, what happens next? A man who was key in the special, key in our coverage here, protected 3 presidents, including Trump. He has questions. Today, Trump announced he's headed back to Butler, Pennsylvania, where the assassination attempt was. He wants to hold another rally. I hope it's not going to be outside. I mean, why? Why tempt fate? Why do something like that? Yes, the immediate threat is gone, but I don't get it. Last night, NewsNation aired a special, The Plot to Kill Trump. It exposed cracks in the system, but most importantly, the different stories being told by the different levels of involvement, local police, state police, Secret Service. So that's what I want to kind of focus on. And I have a man who's been instrumental to my understanding of the right questions and the answers that we need. He was part of the special, protected 3 presidents, including Trump, former Secret Service agent Paul Eckloff. Paul, good to have you back. Great job last night. So the DA was a little bit more heavy-handed in blaming local cops, but in studying this situation, who should we be pissed at here?
To be honest, as I've said from the beginning, we should be pissed at the Secret Service. There should have been redundancies in place so that a single person dropping a post wouldn't have a monumental effect on history. In the end, it may be found that a single officer, a single agent, a single state trooper dropped a post. That's not the point. The Secret Service has to do better, and they know it. They have to design these things with multiple redundancies built in so that if one moves to find the shooter, there's another on overwatch. I've also heard that the rifle had a collapsible stock, making it more easy to conceal. It was either hidden behind the air conditioning or could have been in his backpack. So if this individual went through the magnetometers and was considered suspicious, he couldn't have brought the rifle because that certainly would have set it off. Right. And he would have checked his bag. So we can debunk some of these things. As you and I first talked about, conspiracies are filling the holes, and we really need to get to the bottom of some of these.
I was a little worried about the title. Plot to Kill Trump suggests that there was a multi-party plan. As you know, the term from the FBI was digital exhaust. There isn't much. They don't have any proof of that. People say, oh, but he had detonators, he had this, he had that. He didn't have anything. You can't easily get online and not really have to dig hard to get any suggestions about how to do this. So I'm not impressed by his preparation, but I am impressed by all the finger pointing. What do you make of state and local police telling different stories about this?
This is kind of fascinating to see because communications failure is quite possibly one of the main reasons for the failure of the Secret Service that day. And it's not for the reasons that everybody thinks about not sharing radios. The Secret Service uses highly technical, digital radios with encryption. They don't have the frequency of every local police officer, but they do have command centers where they can share communication. There was a state police officer in that communication center who could speak to the local police, but the state police blaming the local police saying we didn't do it. What is monumental here that baffles me is there has not been a joint press conference. I am stunned. And as to your comment about the plot to kill Trump, I do believe that potentially can fuel conspiracies, but I think the reason we're filling the area with conspiracies is this was such a simple, sad, and tragically easy thing for him to do that people just can't understand. I discussed with you before, Occam's razor. Nobody gets it. They want to fill those voids with complications, just like the fragmentary bullet idea that came out. And I'm not using theory anymore because a theory is something you're supposed to believe is true. These are hypotheses or far-flung ideas that have not borne out.
The only answer I want from the Secret Service is the suggestion is that you were not just poorly resourced and staffed, but that it was done intentionally to make Trump more vulnerable to attack. They didn't give him the love. They didn't give him the care. They didn't give him what they would have if they liked him. What do you make of that?
That honestly pisses me off. Anybody who wants to suggest that the Secret Service would have reduced the security on an individual to make him more vulnerable while putting their own agents in the line of fire. In history, more agents have been shot or killed than presidents. Why would anyone in the Secret Service ever endanger the fathers and mothers and sisters and brothers that do the job, that ran towards danger? It's unfortunately something you just sort of have to digest if you're in this field, that people are going to fling theories at you or accusations, and you have to choke them down and move on because there's a mission to do. The operational tempo just doesn't suffer fools.
Right.
You can look at the vulnerabilities that day.
So the only other thing I have that my boss, Mike Korn, gave me today is like, nobody's heard from the people who were injured yet. Those will be important interviews in terms of what they saw and kind of checking off the boxes of people who've included them in their conspiracy theories. Paul, I appreciate you very much, Brother Eckloff. Thank you very much, and come again. Paul, thank you very much, okay? 3 minutes and 45 seconds. When we come back, proof that using a platform like this show, we do the job for a reason because we can make a difference. We got a call, we answered it, and I got good news about someone you care about. Next. A month ago, Army Specialist Carolina Stancic came on the show. And she is only 24. She was injured by the COVID vaccine. How do we know? Because after she had it, she suffered 3 heart attacks and 1 stroke. 24. Fit as a fiddle before then. Nobody has offered any other explanation. Even worse, they weren't showing any love or attention. She says she was all but abandoned by the United States Army. Injuries racked up $70,000 in medical bills that she cannot pay. The DOD repeatedly ignored her requests. But she got an advocacy group involved who started working contacts and bringing the heat, including coming to us. And we then got involved with a member of Congress who said he would help. Jimenez. You saw him dancing on a roof in Butler, Pennsylvania not too long ago. However, Stancic just got news she deserves. I wanted to bring in the Army Specialist and Jeremy Sorensen, founder of Uniform Service Justice and Advocacy Group. He made the difference. It's good to see you, sir. Good to see you, Army Specialist. So, who wants to give me the good news? I'll have you both give it to me. Specialist, what happened most recently that warrants you being on my TV on Friday night?
Thank you, Chris. It's great to see you again. So we got news that we got granted full relief of my case.
What does that mean? Help me.
We applied to a Board of Correction and Military Records, trying to backdate orders and get back pay for all things that were incurred, like line of duty for the unlawful discharge.
So you're going to be made whole? You're not going to get bankrupt by this, and you're going to get the treatment that you need?
That's the goal. We hope so.
All right. So I want to say hot damn and clap my hands, but Jeremy, do you like what you've learned, and what do you still need to know?
Well, thank you again, Chris, obviously, for bringing this to the attention of the American public. Your reporting has helped obviously motivate DOD leadership, maybe not necessarily because it was the right thing, but because after being exposed, they had no choice to correct this injustice for Specialist Stancic. So first of all, really appreciate that. And I want to send a shout out, a thank you to the Secretary of the Army, which is the Honorable Christine Wormuth. I believe it's under her direction that the Board of Correction and Military Records did grant Specialist Stancic full relief on her Board of Correction or Board for Correction and Military Records. She'll never get her 3 years of her life back from when this ordeal started 3 years ago to now, but at least her record's being corrected. And we expect that the DOD will expedite paying her now and covering her medical bills. There's still a long road, a lot of bureaucracy ahead of us to get through that. So a little bit late, but better late than never to get this done.
But also, I hear you, also not complete. What they're saying they do versus what happens could be different things. We do not yield. We are a call away. If you need us, we're here. Now, Congressman Jimenez said he was going to help. We set up a meeting. You talked to his guy, but Best reckoning, Jeremy, did Jimenez do what he was supposed to do, what he could do, or no?
Thus far, Chris, I can't tell you that he has. I've had a couple of emails back and forth and a single phone call with his staff about a month ago. And following that, as far as I've seen, they've dropped the ball. And I want to just, if you get a minute here to tell you, we have reached out to a number of congressmen on the House Armed Services Committee. We've reached out to the leadership. We've reached out to Congressman Rogers, to Congressman Smith, as well as the leadership of the Subcommittee on Military Personnel, which is Congressman Banks and Congressman Kim, in order to bring not just this issue, but a much larger systemic issue of the mistreatment of injured service members for the last 2 years. And I'll tell you what, Chris, we've been ignored, we've been deflected, and you know what, to use a current term, we've really been gaslit about all this. And so I'm hoping, bringing this to the American public, that we could get some more justice in this, not just in the Army, but also we've got much bigger problems in the Air Force, the Air National Guard, the Air Force Reserves. Specialist Stancic's case, you can multiply that just in our organization by dozens, and we believe it to be thousands across the service that are being abandoned by the Air Force.
We are here for it. It's why I do the job. Otherwise, the platform is meaningless. Stancic, do you need everybody to know anything else?
Well, I just wanted to thank you for the help that you provided me to get mental health treatment. You've responded really quickly on that, literally the night of the first time we spoke, and I was able to get treatment and in working progress to get long-term treatment for that. So I want to thank you for that.
I told you there was an upside to knowing someone who's completely crazy. I have lots of mental health experts in my life. No, not you, Jeremy. You got that Tommy Lee Jones handsome brother thing working. Stancic, I am happy for this news. It's not over for you, which means it's not over for us. We're always a phone call away if we can help. Jeremy, same for you. My brother and sister, be well and enjoy your weekend. God bless. Thank you for being on.
Thank you very much, Chris. We appreciate it. You're a great American.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Up next, my final thought. Stancic, the Army specialist, thank you for caring about her story, responding on social media. She could be my daughter. She could be yours. She's taking a decision to defend us and serve us. How do we screw